They told her she had 5 months to live, but her unborn triplets needed 7. Her husband was already celebrating her death with another woman. Everyone thought Sarah Mitchell was the victim, but what if she was the one planning the final move? Love, betrayal, and the ultimate revenge when a dying mother turns her last breath into a billion-dollar trap. Stay till the end, because in this story, the dead don't lose, they win. If this story gave you chills, don't forget to like, comment, and share it. Hit subscribe and turn on the bell so you never miss the next story that'll make your heart race and your soul ache. The champagne glass slipped from Sarah Mitchell's hand in slow motion. She watched it fall, watched it shatter against the marble floor of the grand ballroom, watched the crystal explode into 1,000 glittering pieces. Then the room tilted sideways, and Sarah Mitchell collapsed. The screaming started immediately. Sarah had been mid-speech, standing under the golden chandeliers of the Seattle Hilton, addressing 300 guests at her annual Hope House charity gala. She'd been talking about children who deserve chances, about hope and futures and possibility. The words had caught in her throat. The room had started spinning, and then darkness. Sarah, someone call 911. That was her husband Michael's voice, but it sounded distant, underwater. Sarah's eyes flickered open. Faces swam above her. Michael was there, leaning over her, his phone pressed to his ear. No, not calling for help. Looking at his phone. She saw the name on the screen before her vision blurred again. Vivian calling. He sent it to voicemail. Then he was helping her up, his hands under her arms, his voice saying all the right things. I've got you, babe. Ambulance is coming. Just breathe. But Sarah had seen what she'd seen. The ambulance ride was a blur of sirens and sharp turns. Michael rode with her, but he kept checking his phone. Sarah watched him through half-closed eyes, pretending to be more out of it than she was. She saw him text someone. Stay away, I'll call later. Who was he texting? Why did it matter so much even now? At Swedish Medical Center, they rushed her through the emergency room doors. Nurses swarmed. Machines beeped. Bright lights made her squint. Dr. Emily Rodriguez appeared beside her gurney. Sarah had known Emily for years. They'd been friends since college, back when Emily was pre-med and Sarah was studying interior design. Emily had held Sarah's hand through every failed fertility treatment, every negative pregnancy test, every conversation about accepting that children weren't meant to be. Sarah, Emily said, her voice gentle but urgent, I need to run some tests. Your heart rhythm is irregular. It's my valve condition, Sarah managed. I know, I take my medication. It's not just the valve. Emily paused, glanced at the blood work results on her tablet. Your blood work shows elevated HCG levels. Sarah stared at her friend. What does that mean? It means you're pregnant at... The world stopped. Michael froze beside her. Sarah couldn't breathe. That's impossible, Sarah whispered. We've been trying for 12 years. You told me after the last IVF failure that my eggs weren't viable. You said, I need to do an ultrasound right now. Emily's face was serious. Come on. In the ultrasound room, Emily squeezed cold gel onto Sarah's abdomen. The wand pressed against her skin. Sarah held her breath, afraid to hope, afraid to believe. Emily's expression changed, confusion, then shock, then something that looked like fear. Sarah, Emily said slowly, you're not carrying one baby, you're carrying 3. Sarah gasped. Tears filled her eyes instantly. 3? 3, Emily confirmed, turning the screen toward her. Natural conception of triplets. The odds are about 1 in 10,000. Our miracles, Sarah breathed, crying and laughing at the same time. After all these years, 3 miracles. She looked at Michael. He looked stunned, but not happy. He looked trapped. Sarah, Emily said quietly, there's something else. She pulled up Sarah's cardiac imaging on the computer screen. Your mitral valve stenosis has progressed significantly. Pregnancy puts enormous strain on the heart. Triplet pregnancy, she paused. Your heart may not be able to handle it. What are you saying? I'm saying carrying these babies to term could kill you. At your current cardiac function, I estimate you have about 5 months. The babies need at least 7 months, preferably 8, to survive outside the womb. Sarah's hand moved to her still flat stomach. 5 months, 7 months needed. The math was brutal. Then we figure out how to get them to 7 months, Sarah said firmly. Michael leaned forward. Sarah, we should discuss termination. I can't lose you. No, Sarah cut him off, her voice sharp. These are our babies, Michael. After 12 years of trying, crying, failing, 3 miracles, I'm not giving up on them. But if you die, then I die giving them life. That's my choice. Tense silence filled the small room. Then Michael's phone buzzed. He glanced at it. Sarah saw the name again. V with a heart emoji. Vivian. I need to take this, Michael said. Work emergency. He stepped into the hallway. Sarah watched him go through the small window into the door. She saw him answer, saw his face soften, heard his voice drop to something intimate. Hey, yeah, I'm okay. She's okay. Look, I can't talk now. I know, baby, I miss you too. Sarah's mother, Karen, appeared in the hallway then, 20 feet away, carrying coffee. She'd driven 3 hours from Arizona the moment Sarah had texted her about the collapse. Karen heard everything Michael said. Sarah watched her mother's face change from concern to shock to absolute fury. Karen walked past Michael without a word, entered the ultrasound room, and wrapped Sarah in her arms. Baby girl, Karen whispered. Tell me everything. Sarah told her about the triplets, about the 5 months versus 7 months, about choosing the babies no matter what. She didn't tell her about Michael's phone call. She didn't need to. Karen had already heard. That night, after the doctors had admitted Sarah for observation, after they'd hooked her up to monitors that beeped and hummed, after they'd run more tests and given her medications to stabilize her heart, Sarah lay in the dark hospital room and processed what was happening. She was pregnant with triplets after 12 years of infertility. She had 5 months to live, and they needed 7. And her husband was talking to someone named Vivian like she was more than just a work colleague. Sarah pressed her hands to her belly, feeling nothing yet, knowing 3 tiny lives were there anyway. 3 impossible miracles. I'll get you here safely, she whispered to them. I promise, no matter what it costs. In the hallway, Karen confronted Michael with ice in her voice. Sarah couldn't hear the words, but she heard the tone, accusation, fury, and Michael's defensive responses. Sarah closed her eyes and made a decision. Whatever was happening with Michael and whoever Vivian was, it didn't matter right now. The only thing that mattered was keeping 3 babies alive long enough to survive. Everything else could wait. But deep down, Sarah knew. She knew something was wrong. She knew Michael was lying. She knew her perfect marriage had cracks she'd been too desperate to see. The heart monitor beeped steadily beside her. 5 months, maybe 6 if she was lucky. It would have to be enough. The next morning, Lisa Morgan burst into Sarah's hospital room carrying flowers, coffee, and the kind of fierce loyalty that came from 20 years of friendship. Oh my God, Lisa said, setting everything down and hugging Sarah carefully. Triplets! After all this time, Sarah smiled weakly. I know, it's a miracle, but you might not survive it. Yeah, Karen called me at 6 this morning. Sarah, I'm so sorry. Lisa sat on the edge of the hospital bed. Where's Michael? Office, emergency board meeting. Lisa's expression sharpened. She was a divorce attorney, one of the best in Seattle. She knew what emergency board meetings on a Sunday morning really meant. What's wrong? Lisa asked. And don't say nothing, because I've known you since college. Sarah hesitated. It's probably nothing. Just, Michael's been distant lately, always on his phone, working late. And last night, she trailed off. Last night what? Mom heard him on the phone in the hallway. She thinks he might be seeing someone. Lisa sat back, her face carefully neutral. What do you think? I think my mother is overprotective and paranoid. Michael wouldn't do that, especially not now. But, Sarah looked at her friend, this woman who'd stood beside her through every disappointment, every failed treatment, every broken hope. But I've been so focused on getting pregnant, on treatments, on my own body failing me. What if I miss something? Sarah, if there's even a chance, do you want me to look into it? I don't know. I'm dying, Lisa. I have months left. Do I really want to spend them worrying about this? You deserve to know the truth. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. Then, okay, but quietly. I don't want to stress the pregnancy if it's nothing. I know a guy, Lisa said. Very discreet. I'll call him today. Lisa called Frank Marino from her car in the hospital parking lot. Frank was an ex-cop turned private investigator. Mid-50s, efficient, and ruthlessly thorough. Lisa had used him in dozens of divorce cases. "Give me 48 hours, Frank said. He had everything in 36. Day one, Frank followed Michael from his office building downtown. Surveillance photos showed Michael meeting a young blonde woman at an upscale restaurant. They sat close, intimate. One photo captured his hand on her knee under the table. Day two, Frank identified the woman. Vivian Cross, 28, Michael's executive assistant. He pulled her employment records. She'd been promoted to Director of Strategic Initiatives 8 months ago. The promotion came with a significant raise in a corner office. Frank ran background checks. He pulled credit card records through sources Lisa didn't ask about. The evidence piled up. 26 hotel charges over 18 months. Always the same hotel, always the same room number. Sometimes overnight stays, sometimes just a few hours in the afternoon. A jewelry purchase from Cartier, $47,000. The date made Sarah's stomach turn when Lisa showed her later. It was the same day Sarah had paid $8,200 for her final IVF cycle. The same day Dr. Rodriguez had told her the treatment had failed, her eggs weren't viable. She should accept that motherhood wasn't meant to be. Sarah had cried for 3 hours that day, and Michael had bought another woman a $47,000 bracelet. Restaurant charges, $23,000 over 18 months. Expensive wine, intimate tables, celebrations of anniversaries Sarah knew nothing about. But the worst evidence came from Vivian's iCloud account. Frank was good at his job, even when his methods skirted legality. The text messages between Michael and Vivian painted a clear picture. Michael, I can't wait to start our life together. Vivian, how much longer? I'm tired of hiding. Michael, once Sarah's situation is resolved, we'll have everything. Vivian, everything? The estate too? Michael, everything. You'll never have to work again, baby. Frank delivered a thick manila envelope to Lisa's office. She opened it alone, poured herself wine even though it was barely noon, and went through every piece of evidence twice. Then she called Sarah. "Come to my office," Lisa said. "Tell Michael you're discussing estate planning." Which isn't a lie. We need to talk about that too. Sarah arrived an hour later, moving slowly, one hand on her small belly. At 16 weeks pregnant, she was starting to show. "Before I show you this," Lisa said, "I need you to sit down. I need you to stay calm for the babies." "You're scaring me." Lisa slid the envelope across her desk. Sarah opened it. Photos spilled out. Her face crumbled. Michael and Vivian kissing in a parking garage. Leaving a hotel together, his arm around her waist. At a restaurant, leaning close, laughing. Credit card statements with charges highlighted in yellow. Text message printouts. Casual intimacy turned to weapons. "How long?" Sarah's voice broke. "At least 18 months, maybe longer." 18, Sarah calculated, her hands shaking. "That's before my last IVF cycle, when we were still trying, when I was injecting hormones and crying in bathrooms and thinking something was wrong with me. He was with her the whole time. I'm so sorry." "Who is she?" "Vivian Cross, his executive assistant. She was promoted 8 months ago to Director of Strategic Initiatives." Sarah laughed bitterly. "Strategic Initiatives, that's what we're calling it." She kept looking through photos. Then she found the Cartier receipt, the date, the amount. $47,000, Sarah whispered. "I remember this date. This was the day I found out our last IVF failed. The day Dr. Rodriguez told me my eggs weren't viable. I cried for 3 hours." She looked up at Lisa, tears streaming, and he bought her jewelry. While I was grieving, he was celebrating with her. This was the moment, the devastation peak, the complete shattering of everything Sarah had believed about her marriage. She broke down sobbing, and Lisa rushed around the desk to hold her. "Let it out," Lisa said, "but then we fight." "Fight?" Sarah said through tears. "Lisa, I'm dying. I have maybe 5 months left. Divorce takes 6 to 12 months minimum. I don't have time for court battles." "Then we don't fight fair. We fight smart." Sarah pulled back, wiping her eyes. "What do you mean?" "You want these babies protected, right? You want to make sure Michael and his mistress don't get to play house with your children and your money after you're gone? Of course, but how? Then we don't divorce him. We trap him, legally, ironclad. We make sure that when you're gone, your babies are protected from both of them. Sarah sat up straighter, something hardening in her expression. Tell me how. I know a trust attorney, best in the state. We create a fortress around those babies. Michael won't even see it coming. Sarah looked at the photos one more time. Michael and Vivian, happy, intimate, planning a future without her answer, while she fought for every breath, every day, every chance to bring 3 babies into the world. Okay, Sarah said, new resolve in her voice. Let's do it. But Lisa, he doesn't get to know, I know. Not yet. I need him to think everything's normal. That's going to be hard. I've been swallowing hard truths for 12 years. I can swallow this one for 5 more months. She looked at the photo of Michael and Vivian kissing. I'm not fighting for my marriage anymore, Sarah said quietly. I'm fighting for my baby's future, and I'm going to win. 1 week later, Sarah sat in Thomas Reed's law office with Lisa and Karen. Thomas was in his mid-60s, distinguished with silver hair and sharp eyes. He'd known Karen since childhood. When Lisa had explained what Sarah needed, Thomas had cleared his entire afternoon. Sarah, Thomas said, what you're proposing is brilliant and absolutely airtight. But getting Michael to sign off on this without suspicion will be tricky. That's why we're not doing it all at once, Sarah replied. She stood at the whiteboard, marker in hand, laying out her plan like a military operation. We're going to do it in phases. She wrote on the board, Phase 1, Week 1, medical directive documents. Just standard high-risk pregnancy paperwork, healthcare power of attorney, end-of-life decisions. Hidden inside will be preliminary trust language. Phase 2, Week 3, tax optimization documents. Accountant says we need to restructure for estate tax purposes. When Michael is busy and distracted, this is where the main trust terms get buried. Phase 3, Week 5, final codicil. Just final protective measures while I'm in critical condition. Michael will be guilty, stressed, and he'll sign quickly. Thomas studied the plan. It's risky. If he reads carefully, he won't, Sarah said with certainty. Michael has people read things for him, and he signs based on what he's told it says. I've watched him do it for 10 years. He's a big picture guy. Details bore him. And we'll have video proof he signed voluntarily, Lisa added. I've already installed security cameras in the house, Sarah said. He doesn't know. Karen shook her head, half admiring, half worried. My daughter, the criminal mastermind. Your daughter, the mother protecting her children, Sarah corrected. Thomas pulled up a document on his computer screen. All right, here's what the complete trust will accomplish. He walked them through it. The Mitchell Children's Irrevocable Trust. All assets, currently valued at $2.3 billion, would transfer to the Triplets. Michael would receive a salary only, $200,000 per year to live on. A board of trustees would control everything. Karen, Lisa, Thomas, plus 3 independent financial advisors. Michael would have no access to the principal, no voting rights, no say in how the money was spent. But the real power was in the clauses Sarah had demanded. Key Clause 1. If Michael remarried within 10 years, custody automatically transferred to Karen. No court proceedings, no appeals. Automatic. Key Clause 2. Vivian Cross was specifically named as a threat to the children's well-being. A restraining order was built into the trust itself. She couldn't come within 500 feet of the children until they turned 18. Key Clause 3. If Sarah died under suspicious circumstances, the trust would automatically fund a full forensic investigation. If foul play was found, Vivian would be barred from any contact with Michael or the children, and Michael would lose all access to them. Perfect, Sarah said. When do we start? I'll have Phase 1 documents ready tomorrow. 1 week later, Sarah brought Michael dinner in his home office. He barely looked up from his laptop, distracted by quarterly reports and investor presentations. Hey, Sarah said, setting down the plate. Thought you could use a break. Thanks, babe. Just finishing this quarterly report. I need you to sign some papers, medical stuff for the pregnancy. What kind of medical stuff? Healthcare directives, power of attorney in case something happens during delivery. The hospital requires it for high-risk pregnancies. Michael barely glanced at the stack of papers Sarah slid across his desk. Post-it notes marked each signature line. Where do I sign? Sarah pointed. Michael flipped through quickly, signing each spot without reading a single word. Don't you want to read it? Sarah asked, keeping her voice casual. It's standard medical forms, right? Besides, I trust you. The irony cut like glass. Sarah kept her face neutral. Michael's phone buzzed. A text from V with a heart emoji. Miss you, when are you coming over? He didn't hide it well enough. Sarah saw it. He saw her see it. For a moment, something passed between them. Guilt, knowledge, denial. I need to head back to the office, Michael said quickly. Late meeting. At 8 in the evening? Investor call, Tokyo time zones. You know how it is. He kissed her forehead, mechanical and routine, then grabbed his phone and keys. Sarah watched him leave. Then she broke down briefly, allowing herself 1 minute of tears before pulling herself together. She texted Lisa. Phase 1 complete. On to Phase 2. The fortress was being built, brick by brick, page by page, signature by signature. Michael was signing away his fortune without even knowing it. Sarah pressed her hands to her belly, feeling the first tiny flutters of movement. 18 weeks pregnant. The babies were growing, getting stronger. I've got you, she whispered. Mommy's got you. In the security footage she'd review later, you could see Sarah sitting alone in Michael's office, crying silently, one hand on her stomach, the other clutching the papers Michael had just signed. Papers that would protect 3 children from their own father. It was the saddest victory she'd ever won. At 20 weeks pregnant, Sarah's belly was unmistakable. The triplets were growing fast, taking what they needed from her failing body. She was on modified bed rest now, only leaving the house for doctor appointments. So when the doorbell rang on a Tuesday afternoon, Sarah wasn't expecting anyone. She opened the door to find Vivian Cross standing there, stunning in designer clothes, holding a gift basket. Hi, Vivian said with a warm smile. You must be Sarah. I'm Vivian from Michael's office. He mentioned you're on bed rest and might need some help around the house. Sarah stared at the woman her husband was sleeping with, the woman who'd been plotting her replacement for 18 months. And Vivian had the audacity to show up at her door with a gift basket and a smile. Oh, Sarah managed. That's thoughtful. I hope I'm not overstepping. I just know how hard pregnancy can be. And with triplets, Vivian glanced at Sarah's belly. That must be so challenging. It's worth it. Of course, may I come in? I brought some organic teas, vitamin supplements, all pregnancy safe. I checked. Sarah hesitated. What could she say? She stepped aside and Vivian entered, looking around carefully, mapping the house, calculating square footage, estimating value. In the kitchen, Vivian touched the marble countertops. This is a beautiful home. Have you lived here long? 10 years. Michael bought it right after we married. Great investment. Seattle real estate. She was calculating numbers in her head. Sarah could tell. Vivian noticed photos on the mantle. Sarah and Michael's wedding. Sarah's parents. Family trips. No baby photos yet. Oh, but you've been trying for a while, right? Michael mentioned. Sarah's hands clenched. Did he? Oh, just in passing. He talks about you sometimes at the office. He's very devoted. The lie was smooth, practiced. Sarah recognized manipulation when she saw it. Years of failed fertility treatments had taught her to read false sympathy. Vivian noticed the security camera in the corner. Home security? Smart. You can never be too careful. She was assessing everything. Exit points. Valuables. How easy it would be to step into Sarah's life when Sarah was gone. So when are you due? Vivian asked. 7 more months, if I make it that long. If? Vivian leaned forward, too interested. Heart condition. The pregnancy is complicated. Oh no, is it life-threatening? Sarah watched Vivian's face carefully. She saw the flash of interest, of hope, potentially. Vivian touched Sarah's arm, fake concern dripping from her voice. Well, you have such a strong support system. Michael will take care of everything if, I mean, when, after the babies come. You know what I mean. The slip was intentional. Sarah knew it. Vivian wanted her to know. I should rest, Sarah said. Thank you for stopping by. Of course. I'll check in again next week. If you need anything at all, just call Michael and I'll make sure it gets handled. After Vivian left, Sarah immediately called Lisa. She was just here, Sarah said, her voice shaking. In my house, mapping it like she already owns it. Lisa was on a conference call with Frank within minutes. I need everything on Vivian Cross. And I mean everything. Frank's deep investigation took 3 days. What he found made Sarah's blood run cold. Vivian's resume showed work history at 3 companies. Frank called them. None had ever employed anyone named Vivian Cross. 2 said they had never heard of her. The 3rd company was out of business. Frank dug deeper, searching criminal records and name changes. He found Vivian's previous identity, Victoria Vaughn, and he found her history. Boyfriend number 1, Marcus Webb, 52, tech investor, died in 2019 from an accidental fall from his balcony. Vivian had been his girlfriend for 8 months. She inherited $400,000 in life insurance. Boyfriend number 2, David Grant, 58, real estate developer, died in 2021 from a heart attack. Toxicology results were suspicious but inconclusive. Vivian had been his live-in girlfriend. She inherited $1.3 million. Target number 3, divorced man who'd accused Vivian of fraud. The case was settled out of court for an undisclosed sum with a strict non-disclosure agreement. Frank presented his findings to Lisa and Sarah in Lisa's office. Sarah sat across from them, looking at police reports and newspaper articles about 2 dead men. She's killed before, Sarah said quietly. Can't prove it, Frank replied. Both deaths were ruled accidental or natural causes, but the pattern is clear. She targets wealthy men, Lisa said. Gets close, waits for the right moment. And I'm the right moment, Sarah finished. I'm dying anyway. She doesn't even have to do anything, just wait. Frank slid another document across the desk. There's more, I checked her medical records. Lisa interrupted. That's illegal. You want to protect your client or not? He pointed to the document. She visited an OB/GYN 3 weeks ago. Pregnancy test positive. About 8 weeks along. Sarah's face went white. Her hand moved instinctively to her own pregnant belly. She's pregnant, Sarah whispered, with Michael's baby. Who else? Lisa said grimly. Sarah stood, both hands on her stomach now. She's not waiting for me to die. She's planning for it. Planning to step into my life with her baby, with my husband. She's setting up her replacement family. Sarah, sit down. My heart is fine. I'm angry, not fragile. There's a difference. Sarah turned to Frank. I need everything, every call, every text, every credit card charge. I need proof of everything she's planning. You got it. Sarah looked at Lisa. And we need to move faster on the trust. If she's pregnant, Michael might actually marry her. We're running out of time. Phase 2 is ready. We just need the right moment for him to sign. I'll create the moment, Sarah said. But as she left Lisa's office that day, Sarah felt something shift inside her, not the baby's moving. Something else. A cold certainty. Vivian Cross wasn't just a mistress. She was a predator, a killer. And she was planning to eliminate Sarah's children the same way she'd eliminated those 2 men. Sarah pressed the button for the parking garage elevator and made a decision. If Vivian was willing to kill for money, Sarah was willing to die protecting her children. And before she died, she'd make damn sure Vivian Cross went to prison. The game had changed. This wasn't about a trust fund anymore. This was about survival. At 24 weeks pregnant, Sarah woke in the middle of the night to pain. Sharp, cramping pain that radiated from her abdomen. She touched the sheets. Wetness. She turned on the light. Blood. Michael, she said, shaking him awake. Michael, wake up. What? He was groggy, disoriented. Something's wrong. Call 911. The ambulance ride was a blur. Sirens. Pain. Sarah clutching her belly, begging the universe, please don't take them. Not yet. They're not ready yet. At Swedish Medical Center, Dr. Rodriguez was already there, having been called by the paramedics. Sarah's in premature labor at 24 weeks, Emily told the nurses. Babies are not viable at this stage. We need to stop it now. Nurses rushed in with IV medications, magnesium sulfate to stop the contractions, steroids to develop the baby's lungs in case they came anyway. Sarah lay there crying. Please don't let me lose them. Please. We're doing everything we can, Emily promised. Michael stood in the corner, supposedly calling family, but Sarah saw him texting. She saw the name on his phone. Vivian. Michael. She's in the hospital. Premature labor. Vivian. Will the babies make it? Michael. Too early to tell. 24 weeks is... Vivian. Let me know. I'm here if you need me. Heart emoji. 3 hours later, the contractions had stopped. The babies were still alive. Sarah was on strict hospital bed rest. No going home. Too risky. Michael stepped into the hallway to take a call. Sarah was groggy from the medications, but she heard through the door. Michael hadn't realized she could hear. So they're okay? Vivian's voice on speakerphone. The baby survived? For now, she needs to make it at least 4 more weeks before they're viable. And if she doesn't? Michael paused. Then we move on. Move on, Michael, this is our chance for a fresh start. If the babies don't make it, we can try again. Our baby, healthy, no complications. Viv, don't say that. I'm just being realistic, baby. Her heart isn't going to last much longer anyway. And if the babies are born this early, they might not survive either. Clean slate. I need to go. Fine, but think about what I said. 2 more weeks, baby. Then we're free. I love you. Love you too. Sarah lay in the hospital bed, tears streaming silently down her face. She heard everything, understood everything. This was the second devastation peak. Michael didn't just emotionally abandon her. He'd emotionally abandoned their children too. He'd already moved on to his new family, the one with Vivian, the one that was healthy and uncomplicated and didn't require sacrifice. He wanted them gone, wanted his clean slate. When Karen arrived an hour later, she found Sarah crying silently, one hand on her belly, staring at the ceiling. Baby, what is it? Are you in pain? He doesn't want them, Sarah whispered. He wants them gone. What? I heard him with her. If the babies die, he gets his clean slate with Vivian. Mom, he's counting down to when I'm dead. Karen's face went hard with fury. That son of a... No, we can't confront him, not yet. I need to stay calm for the babies. Sarah grabbed Karen's hand. But Mom, we moved to phase 2 tonight. I don't care if I'm in a hospital bed. Get Thomas here. Get Lisa. We're signing those papers tomorrow. I'll call them right now. The next day, Thomas and Lisa arrived with documents. Sarah was still on bed rest, propped up in the hospital bed, IVs in both arms. Sarah, are you sure you're up for this? Thomas asked. Michael will be here in an hour. We're doing this now. She signed papers. Phase 2 of the trust. This was the big one. 90% of asset control transferred to the trust immediately. Once Michael countersigned and bought, it was done. Karen entered with her phone. Frank just sent this. She played an audio recording from the hospital parking lot. Frank had been following Michael. Michael and Vivian's voices in a car. When are you going to tell her about us? After it's all over. After she's dead, you mean? Just say it. I'm not discussing this here. Fine, but Michael, I'm not waiting forever. I'm pregnant with your baby. I deserve to be more than the mistress. You will be. Just let me handle this my way. Your way is taking too long. Maybe I should visit her again. Make sure she understands that I'm going to be there for you. That I'll take care of everything when she's gone. Stay away from her. Why, she's like she's dying anyway. Sarah listened to the recording twice, memorized every word. I want that backed up everywhere, Sarah said coldly. Cloud storage, physical copies, safe deposit boxes. If anything happens to me, I want that played in court. I want a forensic investigation. I want Vivian charged. Thomas added a suspicious death clause to the trust. If Sarah died unexpectedly, the trust would automatically fund a full independent investigation. When Michael arrived an hour later with flowers, he found Thomas and Lisa still there. Oh, what's going on? Michael asked. Sarah smiled sweetly. Just some paperwork, estate tax stuff. Remember how Roger the accountant kept bugging you about restructuring? Vaguely. Well, with the medical bills piling up and the babies coming, I figured we should finally do it. Lisa helped me organize it. Can't this wait until you're home? Hospital social worker says we need it done before delivery, just in case. The words just in case made Michael look guilty. Thomas slid papers across the hospital tray table. Just needs your signature. Michael barely glanced at them. His phone buzzed. A text from Vivian. He was distracted. This is a lot of pages, Michael said. Tax code is complicated, Thomas replied, but I've highlighted the key points. Basically optimizes your estate tax burden and protects the children's inheritance. Protects from what? Standard creditor protection, estate claims, that sort of thing. Michael signed every page without reading a single word. Done. Sarah watched him sign away his fortune, his control, his future, all while texting his mistress. After Thomas and Lisa left, Michael sat beside Sarah's bed. You scared me yesterday when they called about the premature labor. Did you tell Vivian I scared you too? Sarah asked quietly. Michael froze. What? I heard you yesterday, in the hallway, talking to her about clean slates and fresh starts. His face went pale. Sarah, get out. Let me explain. Get out before I have a cardiac episode and our babies die. Is that what you want? Your clean slate? I love you. No, you don't. Now get out. He left. Sarah broke down, but she held her belly, feeling the babies move inside Hero. It's okay, she whispered. Mommy's got you. I've got you. 2 weeks later, Sarah made it to 28 weeks. In the NICU world, this was huge. Babies born at 28 weeks had a 90% survival rate. Dr. Rodriguez delivered the news with tears in her eyes. You did it, Sarah. If you deliver now, the babies have an excellent chance. Sarah cried with relief. They're going to be okay? They'll need NICU time, but yes, they're fighters, like their mom. Michael had been staying at the hospital more, seemed genuinely remorseful. Sarah, I'm so sorry about everything, about Vivian, about what I said. I've been a coward. Yes, you have. But I want to be better. For you, for them. Can you forgive me? Part of Sarah wanted to believe him, wanted to believe that facing the possibility of losing them all had changed him. I don't know, she said honestly, but you're their father, so we figure it out. I'll end things with Vivian. Today, I promise. Okay. This was the first false victory. For a moment, Sarah thought maybe they could survive this. Maybe Michael would choose them. That evening, Sarah was sleeping when Michael's phone lit up on the bedside table. She opened her eyes, saw the screen. Text from V with a heart emoji. 2 more weeks, baby. Then we're free. Can't wait for our life to finally start. Love you. Heart emoji. Sarah stared at the message. All hope died. He was counting down. Literally counting down to her death. The conversation about ending things with Vivian had been a lie. Everything was a lie. Sarah closed her eyes and made her final decision. She stopped hoping Michael would be better. Stopped hoping he'd choose them. Stopped hoping love would be enough. She had one job now, survive long enough to protect 3 babies who would be born into a world where their father didn't want them and their father's mistress wanted them dead. At 29 weeks, Sarah's water broke in the middle of the night. Real labor this time. No stopping it. No, 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 Sarah gasped. Not yet. They need more time. But the babies were coming. Emergency C-section. Sarah was terrified. Promise me they'll be okay, she begged Dr. Rodriguez in the operating room. Promise me. We're going to do everything we can. They put Sarah under general anesthesia. It was too risky to keep her conscious with her heart condition. The babies were delivered one by one. Baby A, Emma, 2 pounds, 4 ounces, crying immediately, strong. Baby Bai, Jackson, 2 pounds, 1 ounce, needed oxygen but breathing. Baby BC, Sophie, 2 pounds, 3 ounces. The fighter, already alert. 3 tiny miracles rushed immediately to the NICU. Then Sarah's heart monitor started screaming. Ventricular fibrillation. She's coding, Dr. Rodriguez shouted. Get the crash cart. Paddles, clear. Sarah's body jumped on the table. Still flatline. Again. Clear. Her heart restarted. We've got her. Stabilizing. 10 minutes later, the alarms went off again. Second cardiac arrest. 3 minutes of CPR this time. The surgical team fought for her life, while 3 newborns fought for theirs in the next room. Finally, a weak heartbeat returned. Get her to ICU, Dr. Rodriguez ordered. Her heart function is at 10%. She has days at most. In the waiting room, Karen and Lisa waited. Michael paced. Dr. Rodriguez emerged, still in scrubs, exhausted. The babies are alive, in NICU, critical but stable. And Sarah? Karen asked. Emily looked at Michael. She coded twice on the table. We brought her back, but her heart is failing. She has maybe 48 to 72 hours. I'm sorry. Michael sat heavily, pulled out his phone. Lisa watched him from down the hall. She saw him texting. To Vivian, she's not going to make it. Maybe 2 to 3 days. Vivian's response, I'm sorry, baby. I'm here for you. When do you want me to come? Heart emoji. Michael, not yet. Let me handle family first. Vivian, okay. But Michael, I'm ready. Ready for us. Ready to be there for you. Lisa took a photo of Michael's phone screen over his shoulder. More evidence. Sarah Mitchell had given birth to 3 miracles and died twice in the process. She'd bought them life at the cost of her own. Now she had maybe 2 days to finish what she'd started. The next day, Sarah insisted on seeing her babies despite every warning from Dr. Rodriguez. They wheeled her down to the NICU in a wheelchair, portable heart monitor strapped to her chest, beeping constant warnings about her deteriorating condition. Karen pushed the wheelchair, one hand on Sarah's shoulder, feeling her daughter tremble with exhaustion and determination. The NICU was quiet except for the symphony of machines keeping tiny lives alive. 3 isolates in a row, numbered 3, 5, and 7. 3 plastic boxes containing 3 miracles. Sarah's hands shook as she reached through the porthole of isolate 3, touching Emma's incubator glass. The baby was asleep, eyes closed tight, her tiny chest rising and falling with mechanical precision. Tubes ran from her nose. Wires monitored every heartbeat. She weighed 2 pounds 4 ounces, less than a bag of flour. Hi, baby girl, Sarah whispered, tears streaming down her face. Mommy's here. You're so strong. So perfect. She moved to isolate 5. Jackson was smaller, struggling more. He needed oxygen support, his little body working so hard just to breathe. But he was alive, fighting. Sarah pressed her palm against the plastic, wishing she could hold him, knowing her heart couldn't handle the stress of even that simple act. My brave boy, she said softly, you're a fighter, just like your sisters. Just hold on a little longer, okay? Grandma Karen is going to take such good care of you. Sophie was in isolate 7, and even through her exhaustion, Sarah smiled. Sophie was the fighter, already trying to pull out her feeding tube, alert and aware despite being born 2 months early. She was gaining weight faster than her siblings, breathing better, fighting harder. My little warrior, Sarah breathed, you're going to be okay. All of you are going to be okay. I made sure of it. She was talking to them, memorizing their tiny faces when the NICU door opened behind her. Vivian Cross walked in. Sarah felt it before she saw her. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Karen's hand tightened on Sarah's shoulder in warning. Sarah turned slowly in her wheelchair, every movement painful, her heart monitor beeping faster. Vivian stood there in designer clothes that probably cost more than most people made in a month. Perfect makeup, perfect hair, perfect smile. She looked like she was visiting a museum, not a neonatal intensive care unit where 3 babies fought for life. Sarah, Vivian said, her voice dripping with false sympathy. I'm so sorry. I heard about the delivery. It must have been terrifying. Sarah's voice came out cold, flat. What are you doing here? Michael asked me to check on you. He's in a meeting with hospital administration about billing. The lie was smooth, practiced. He was so worried, but you know how these things are. Someone has to handle the details. Get out. Vivian didn't move. Instead, she stepped closer to the isolates. She looked at the 3 tiny babies, and Sarah saw something flicker across her face, not sympathy, not compassion, calculation. You know, Vivian said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper, they're so small. Preemies this small have such high mortality rates. I read about it online. The statistics are really quite sobering. Sarah's blood turned to ice. What did you just say? Vivian kept her eyes on the babies, reaching out as if to touch Jackson's isolette. Sarah wanted to scream, to throw herself between Vivian and her children, but she could barely move. I'm just saying, Vivian continued, her voice still soft, almost conversational. Anything could happen. Infections are so common in NICUs, and respiratory problems, and heart defects run in families, don't they? So many ways these things can go wrong with premature babies. She turned to look at Sarah, and her eyes were cold. Nature is cruel sometimes. But people move on. They start fresh. The threat was clear. Crystal clear. Sarah tried to stand from the wheelchair, adrenaline overriding her failing heart. She made it halfway up before her legs buckled. Karen caught her, holding her up. Get away from my daughter and my grandchildren, Karen said, her voice shaking with fury, before I call security and have you arrested for trespassing. I'm just visiting, Vivian said, that smile still in place. Michael put me on the visitor list. I'm family friend. Support during this difficult time. She looked at Sarah. We're all rooting for them, Sarah, really. We're all hoping they pull through. But the way she said it, the emphasis on the word hoping, made it clear what she really meant. She was hoping they didn't. She was planning for them not to. Sarah felt it then, not just anger, not just fear. This was deeper. This was a mother's rage, pure and primal, the kind that could move mountains or burn down worlds. This was the third devastation peak. Her husband had abandoned them. She was dying, and now this woman, this monster, was standing here threatening to kill 3 helpless newborns. You're threatening my children, Sarah said, each word deliberate. Vivian's smile widened slightly. I'm stating medical facts. You of all people should understand that sometimes babies don't make it. And when they don't, well, people grieve. People move on. People start over with healthy babies, healthy families. She paused. Michael and I are having a son, did he tell you? Due in 6 months. A healthy pregnancy, no complications. Sarah's portable heart monitor started screaming. Alarms everywhere. Her vision blurred at the edges. Mom, she gasped, clutching Karen's arm. Nurse, Karen shouted. We need help now. NICU nurses rushed in from the nurses' station. They saw Sarah's monitor, saw her pale face, saw her gasping for breath. One nurse grabbed the wheelchair handles. We need to get her back to ICU immediately, the nurse said. She's having a cardiac event. As they wheeled Sarah toward the door, she looked back. Vivian was still standing there between the isolettes, looking at the 3 babies, and she was smiling. I'll tell Michael you said hi, Vivian called out sweetly. 10 minutes later, Sarah was back in her ICU bed, stable but weak. Her heart had gone into arrhythmia, dangerously irregular beats that could have killed her. They'd given her emergency medications, shocking amounts of them, and her heart had finally settled into something resembling a normal rhythm. Dr. Rodriguez stood at the foot of her bed, arms crossed, face serious. Sarah, your heart cannot take this stress. You have maybe 72 hours left, probably less. You need to rest. You need to stop pushing yourself. I need to protect my babies, Sarah said, her voice hoarse. That woman threatened them, right there in the NICU. She looked at them and threatened them. I heard, Lisa said, entering the room. Karen had called her the moment the alarms went off. Karen told me everything. Sarah, we need to act now. We're out of time. Karen stood at Sarah's bedside, holding her hand. That woman is dangerous. She's not just planning to take your husband and your money. She's planning to eliminate your children. What woman? Dr. Rodriguez asked. Who are we talking about? Michael's mistress, Sarah said. Vivian Cross. She came to the NICU. She was on the visitor list because Michael added her. And she stood there looking at 3 premature babies in incubators and talked about mortality rates and infections and how people move on when babies don't make it. Emily's face went hard. I'm removing her from all visitor lists immediately. I'm also flagging her in our system. Security will be notified that she's not allowed anywhere near the NICU or maternity ward. It's not enough, Sarah said, shaking her head weakly. Don't you understand? If I die, Michael will give her access. He'll bring her into their lives. She'll be their stepmother. She'll have opportunities. Accidents happen to babies all the time, especially preemies. A pillow held just a few seconds too long, medicine given in the wrong dose. And who would question a grieving stepmother who tried her best but couldn't save them? The room went silent. Everyone understood what Sarah was saying. This wasn't paranoia. This was reality. Vivian had already killed at least 2 men, possibly more. 3 babies wouldn't even slow her down. Then we don't let you die without finishing what we started, Lisa said firmly. Sarah looked at her friend, then at her mother, then at Dr. Rodriguez. I need your help, all of you. I have maybe 3 days left. We need to work fast. Tell us what you need, Karen said. Sarah's mind was racing despite her exhaustion. She was dying, yes, but she wasn't dead yet. And a dying woman with nothing left to lose was the most dangerous force on earth. Get Thomas here, Sarah said. Get Detective Morrison. We're going to set a trap. And Vivian Cross is going to walk right into it. Hours later, Sarah woke in her ICU room to find everyone gathered around her bed like generals planning a war. Karen, Lisa, Thomas Reed, Dr. Rodriguez, and a man she didn't know, but Lisa introduced as Detective James Morrison from the Seattle Police Department. Detective, Sarah said weakly, my friend Lisa has been telling you about Vivian Cross? She has, Morrison replied. He was in his mid-50s, graying hair, sharp eyes that had seen too much. And I've been doing some research. We've reopened the investigations into Marcus Webb and David Grant's deaths. There are some inconsistencies in both cases that warrant another look. But you don't have enough to arrest her yet, Sarah guessed. Not yet. Both deaths were ruled accidental or natural causes at the time. Overturning those findings requires new evidence. Compelling evidence, the kind that's admissible in court. I can get you that evidence, Sarah said. Lisa leaned forward. Sarah, what are you planning? I'm planning to have a conversation with Vivian, a very honest conversation. One where she tells me exactly what she's done and what she's planning to do. Sarah looked at Detective Morrison. Can you use a recorded confession? If it's obtained legally, yes. Washington is a one-party consent state. As long as one person in the conversation knows it's being recorded, it's admissible. Then we have what we need. Thomas cleared his throat. Sarah, before we proceed, I need to make some changes to the trust documents. Emergency changes. What kind of changes? Michael's attorney looked at the documents yesterday. He's figured out what you did. Michael is planning to contest the will on grounds of paternity. Sarah had expected this. Good. Omnipotent. Let him. You want him to contest? Thomas looked confused. I want him to publicly, in a courtroom, doubt his own children's paternity. I want everyone to see what kind of man he is. Sarah looked at Dr. Rodriguez. Emily, we need DNA tests. The babies, me, and Michael. Sarah, with your heart condition, even a simple blood draw is risky. I'm dying anyway. Do the test. Rush results. 24 hours. Emily nodded reluctantly. I'll do the baby's DNA samples. It's routine for preemies anyway. And I can draw your blood, but Michael's sample. I'll get it, Karen said. I still have keys to their house. I'll get his hairbrush tomorrow morning while he's at work. Perfect, Sarah said. She looked at Thomas. Add a clause to the trust. Michael gets nothing if he contests. 0. Not even the salary. And seal the DNA results. Don't release them until after I'm gone. Until after he's already contested in court. Why wait? Thomas asked. Because I want him to destroy himself. I want him to stand in front of a judge and deny his own children. And then I want the DNA results to prove he was wrong. I want his reputation destroyed so completely that even if Vivian somehow beats these charges, no one will ever trust him again. His business connections will dry up. His social standing will evaporate. He'll be a pariah. Lisa smiled grimly. That's brilliant. Cold, but brilliant. I'm protecting my children, Sarah said simply, from him, from her, from anyone who might hurt them. That's what mothers do. Detective Morrison pulled out a recording device no bigger than a button. This is a wire. We'll hide it under your hospital gown. The quality is excellent. Just get her talking. The more details, the better. I'll get her talking, Sarah promised. That night at 11 o'clock, Sarah had Lisa make the call. Her own voice was too weak to be convincing over the phone. Hello? Vivian answered, sounding cautious. Unknown number at this hour meant bad news or opportunity. Lisa held the phone to Sarah's ear. Sarah whispered, putting every ounce of weakness into her voice, making herself sound like she was already halfway dead. Vivian, it's Sarah. Sarah? Genuine surprise. Are you okay? No, I'm dying, tonight or tomorrow. The doctors said my heart is giving out. Sarah paused, gasping for effect. I need to talk to you. Please. I need to talk to you before I go. There was a pause. Sarah could almost hear Vivian's mind working, calculating angles, seeing opportunities. Do you want me to come to the hospital? Yes, please, just you. I can't face Michael right now, after everything. I just can't, but I need to tell someone. I need to talk to someone who will understand. Understand what? About the will, about the trust, about what I've done. Sarah let her voice break. I've made terrible mistakes. I need to fix them before I die. That did it. The promise of inside information about the will, about the trust, about potential vulnerabilities. Vivian couldn't resist. I'll be there in 20 minutes. She arrived in 30 minutes. By then, the trap was set. Hidden in the bathroom, Lisa, Karen, and Detective Morrison, door cracked just enough to hear everything, recording equipment running. Hidden under Sarah's hospital gown, the wire taped carefully to her chest, microphone positioned to catch every word. Video cameras, two of them, positioned to capture both Sarah and Vivian, allegedly for medical monitoring, but actually recording everything. Sarah lay in bed, looking every inch the dying woman, because that's what she was. No acting required. Her skin was gray, her breathing was labored. She looked like a corpse already, like someone who'd be gone within hours. Vivian entered quietly, closing the door behind her. She dressed down for the occasion, jeans and a sweater, trying to look casual and concerned. But Sarah saw through it, saw the calculation in her eyes, the assessment of the room, the instinct to check for witnesses. Sarah, Vivian said, sitting in the chair beside the bed. I'm so sorry, this must be terrifying. I need to tell you something, Sarah said, her voice barely above a whisper. About the will, about the trust I set up. Vivian leaned forward, interested now. What about it? I made it too restrictive, too harsh. Michael won't have access to anything, and I realize now that was wrong. The babies need their father. They need him to have resources to care for them. That's very thoughtful of you to think about that. I want you to help me fix it. I want Michael to have access to the trust. I want you to tell him after I'm gone that he should contest it, the trust. He can break it. I was on medication when I signed the papers. Heavy medication. He can argue diminished capacity. Vivian's eyes sharpened. You're telling me how to break your own trust? Sarah nodded weakly. I want Michael to be okay. I want the babies to be okay. And I know you'll be there for him. You'll help him. You love him, right? There was a long pause. Sarah could see Vivian weighing her options, deciding how honest to be. Sarah, why are you really telling me this? Because I'm dying and I want someone to admit the truth. Just once, I want to hear the truth. You don't love him, do you? Vivian paused, then smiled slowly. You really want to know the truth? Yes. Vivian leaned back in her chair, relaxing, dropping the pretense. This was the moment. Sarah held her breath, felt the wire against her skin, knew Detective Morrison was hearing every word. No, Vivian said simply. I don't love him. I love his money. I love what his money can give me. Michael is convenient. He's weak. He's easy to manipulate. He believes everything I tell him because he wants to believe it. And after I'm gone, what happens then? Vivian's smile widened. After you're gone, I'll comfort him for about a year, long enough to make sure everything is settled, long enough for your sick little babies to either thrive or fail. Sarah's heart clenched. And which are you hoping for? Honestly, Vivian leaned forward. I'm hoping they fail. Preemies this small have so many complications. Infections, respiratory problems, developmental issues. It would be a mercy, really. A tragedy, but a mercy. You want my babies to die. I want my baby to be Michael's only child. I want my son to inherit everything. Your triplets are complications. Expensive, difficult complications. Vivian's voice was cold now, clinical. But don't worry, Sarah. If they do survive, accidents happen. NICU infections are so common. And sudden infant death syndrome happens to the healthiest babies. And once they're older, allergies, accidents, so many things. Babies are fragile. You're planning to kill them. Sarah's voice shook, not with fear but with rage. I'm not planning anything. I'm just saying that nature takes its course sometimes. And when it does, people grieve, people move on. Michael and I will finally have the life we deserve, the family we deserve, without complications. Sarah felt tears on her face, but she pushed forward. What about the others, the men before Michael? Vivian's expression changed, became guarded. What others? Marcus Webb, David Grant? Did nature take its course with them too? Vivian stood abruptly. How do you know those names? I know everything, Vivian. I know who you really are. Victoria Vaughn. I know what you've done. I know how many men you've killed for money. Vivian's face went cold. Dangerous. All pretense gone now. You've been doing homework. That was stupid. Did you kill them? I think this conversation is over. Vivian moved toward the door. Did you kill them, Vivian? Vivian stopped at the door, turned back, and in that moment, with death hovering close, she told the truth. Let's just say I helped things along when necessary. Marcus had a drinking problem. Easy to make sure he had one drink too many near a balcony. David had a heart condition. Easy to get access to medications that would trigger a cardiac event. She looked at Sarah with something like respect. You're smarter than they were. You figured it out. Good for you. Too bad you won't live long enough to do anything about it. She reached for the door handle. And Sarah, you've got maybe 24 hours left. I'd spend it making peace with your God, not asking questions you don't want answered. Because when you're gone, I'm going to be there for Michael. I'm going to help him through his grief. I'm going to be patient while he figures out what to do with 3 sick babies he never wanted. And whatever happens to those babies, well, that's between me and nature. She left. For 5 seconds, the room was silent. Then the bathroom door opened. Detective Morrison emerged with Lisa and Karen, all 3 holding recording devices. We got everything, Morrison said, his face grim. Threats against minors, admission of prior murders, conspiracy. This is more than enough. Sarah let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. Is it enough to arrest her tonight? It's enough to arrest her right now. 2 hours later, at 2 in the morning, Vivian Cross was arrested in the hospital parking lot as she walked to her car. She was charged with conspiracy to commit murder, threats against minors, fraud, and they were reopening investigations into the deaths of Marcus Webb and David Grant with new evidence. Vivian screamed as they cuffed her, her perfect facade finally cracking. Michael! Michael, help me! Michael watched from the hospital entrance, frozen, not moving to help her. Back in Sarah's ICU room, Detective Morrison played the recording for Sarah one more time. This is airtight, he said. She confessed to everything. 2 murders, plans to kill your children. The whole scheme. She's going away for a very long time. Sarah closed her eyes. One threat eliminated. But there was still Michael, still the contest, still one more thing to do. The DNA results, she said to Dr. Rodriguez. When will they be ready? 6 hours. I put a rush on them. Good. Sarah looked at Lisa and Thomas. We have 6 hours to finish this. Get Michael here. Tell him I'm dying. Tell him I want to make peace. And get him to say what he really thinks about those babies. Sarah, you need to rest, Emily protested. I'll rest when I'm dead, Sarah said, which will be soon. So let's finish this. At 4 in the morning, Sarah Mitchell was still alive, still fighting, still protecting 3 babies sleeping in the NICU 3 floors below. The trap had worked. Vivian was caught. Now it was Michael's turn. 6 weeks later, they gathered in Thomas Reed's law office for the reading of Sarah Mitchell's last will and testament. Present, Michael looking haggard, Karen radiating cold fury, Lisa professional and prepared, Thomas ready to execute Sarah's final wishes. Judge Henderson invited to validate the proceedings. Dr. Rodriguez as witness. "We're here," Thomas began, "for the reading of Sarah Mitchell's last will and testament and to address Mr. Mitchell's petition to contest." Michael's attorney stood. "Your Honor, my client contests this will on grounds that paternity has not been established for the triplets." Michael stood. "Those babies could be from mixed embryos. The IVF was 5 years ago. I have the right to DNA verification before accepting a trust that cost me $2.3 billion. Karen hissed, "They're your children, you bastard." "Mrs. Sullivan, please," Judge Henderson said. Thomas clicked his laptop. A screen lowered from the ceiling. "Your Honor, Mrs. Mitchell anticipated this exact challenge. This video was recorded 48 hours before her death." The video played. Sarah in her hospital bed, weak but clear-eyed. "Michael, if you're watching this, it means you're in court trying to deny your own children. That tells me everything I need to know about who you became. But I'll give you what you want. Proof." She held up a sealed envelope labeled DNA test results. 99.9% probability of paternity. Emma, Jackson, and Sophie are biologically yours. I had this test done the day before I died. Dr. Rodriguez, Thomas, and Lisa all witnessed it. You want to know why I didn't tell you immediately? Because I wanted to see if you'd doubt them. I wanted to see if you'd put money before your own children. And you did. You're sitting in that courtroom right now, aren't you? Arguing that 3 babies might not be yours so you can keep your fortune. Let me tell you what that means. It means you don't deserve them. It means that every clause I put in that trust, every restriction, every limitation, every barrier was justified. You asked me once if I trapped you. Here's the truth. You trapped yourself. You cheated on your dying wife. You planned a future with a woman who threatened to harm your children. You abandoned 3 babies because they were inconvenient. So yes, I took your money and I gave it to 3 innocent children who deserve better than you. The trust stands. The restrictions remain. And Michael, you'll get your $200,000 a year. That's more than most people make. If you can't live on that, then you never deserve the billions in the first place. Emma, Jackson, and Sophie will grow up knowing their mother fought for them, that she used her last breaths to protect them, that she loved them more than life itself. What will you tell them about yourself? The video ended. Courtroom silence. Michael's face was destroyed, ashamed, broken. Karen stood. Your Honor, I'd like to add something to the record. She played the audio recording. Vivian celebrating Sarah's impending death, joking about the babies not making it, talking about clean slates. The courtroom gasped. That woman is the mistress my son-in-law was planning to marry. She's currently awaiting trial for conspiracy to commit murder, fraud, and 2 suspicious deaths. My daughter knew all of this. She protected her children from both of them. Judge Henderson was furious. Mr. Mitchell, I've been a family court judge for 30 years. I've seen a lot of despicable behavior. But publicly doubting your own children's paternity to access their inheritance, that's a new low. This court denies your petition. The trust stands exactly as Mrs. Mitchell designed it. Furthermore, I'm issuing a protective order. You are allowed supervised visitation twice per year under the supervision of Mrs. Sullivan or a court-appointed guardian. You are prohibited from bringing Vivian Cross or any romantic partner around the children until they reach age 18. Your wife was a better person than you deserved, Mr. Mitchell. This court is adjourned. The gavel fell. Michael walked out past reporters shouting questions. His reputation was destroyed. Company stock had dropped 40% since the affair, and Vivian's arrest went public. Karen, Lisa, and Thomas walked out together. A reporter called out, "Mrs. Sullivan, how are the babies?" Karen smiled. "Thriving. Emma came home last week. Jackson and Sophie this Friday. They're fighters, like their mother." 1 year later, Karen's home was decorated with balloons and presents. 3 high chairs held 3 one-year-old children, healthy and laughing, their faces covered in birthday cake. Emma, curious and observant, studied her cake methodically before tasting it. Jackson, smaller but gaining strength every day, needed help but was trying. Sophie, the fighter, had dove in face first and was loving every second. Present, Karen, Lisa, Dr. Rodriguez, Thomas, and friends from Sarah's charity. Not present, Michael, who'd chosen not to come for his supervised visit. Sarah would have loved this, Karen said. She fought so hard to see this day. She left them something, Lisa said, for today. She pulled out a laptop. They gathered around. Sarah's face filled the screen, recorded before her death. Hi, my darlings. Happy first birthday. If you're watching this, it means you made it. You survived the NICU, came home, and you're thriving. I'm so proud of you. I want to tell you a story. The story of how you came to be. For 12 years, I tried to have babies. Every month, every treatment, every failure broke my heart a little more. I was told I'd never be a mother. And then, a miracle. 3 miracles. You. But there was a problem. My heart was failing. The doctor said I had 5 months to live, and you needed 7 months to survive. I made a choice. I chose you. Even knowing it would cost me everything. Some people thought I was stupid, throwing my life away for babies who might not even survive. But here's what I knew. You were worth it. You are worth it. Every breath was a fight. Every day was a battle. But I'd do it again in a heartbeat. This was the wisdom moment, the lesson Sarah was leaving behind for anyone listening. That love isn't measured in time, but in sacrifice, that protecting what matters is always worth the cost. I'm sorry I can't be there for your first steps, your first words, your first day of school. I'm sorry I can't see you grow up, but I made sure you'd be safe. I made sure you'd be loved. I made sure you'd have everything you need. Your grandmother Karen is the strongest woman I know. She'll teach you how to be brave. Aunt Lisa will teach you how to fight for what's right. Dr. Rodriguez will teach you about compassion. And your father? Your father made mistakes, big ones, but he's still your father. Someday when you're old enough to understand, you'll have to decide if you want him in your life. That's your choice, not mine to make. Just remember this. You were wanted, you were loved, and you were worth every single second of the fight. Well, happy first birthday, my darlings. I love you more than words can say. Now go make a mess with that cake. That's what first birthdays are for. She blew a kiss to the camera. The video ended. Everyone was crying. The babies, oblivious, were covered in cake, laughing. Your mama was the bravest woman I ever knew, Karen said to the 3 children. And you 3? You're just like her. The final justice came in the form of news reports over the following months. Michael Mitchell lost his petition to contest the will. He currently saw his children twice per year under supervised visitation. The children didn't recognize him. Vivian Cross was convicted of conspiracy to commit murder, fraud, and 2 counts of manslaughter in the deaths of Marcus Webb and David Grant. She was sentenced to 25 years in federal prison. She gave birth to a son while awaiting trial. The child was placed for adoption. Mitchell Tech's stock value dropped 58% following the scandal. Michael resigned as CEO. He now worked as a consultant, living on his trust salary of $200,000 per year. Emma, Jackson, and Sophie Mitchell were now 5 years old, living with their grandmother Karen in Seattle. The trust Sarah created had grown to $3.1 billion. The children would never want for anything. Sarah's charity, Hope House, continued to serve underprivileged children in the Seattle area. Donations increased 400% after her story went public. Before she died, Sarah had recorded 30 videos, one for each year until her children turned 30. They would receive a new message from their mother every birthday. On what would have been Sarah's 41st birthday, Karen took Emma, Jackson, and Sophie to Sarah's grave. They were 5 now, old enough to understand a little. Who was Mommy? Sophie asked, looking at the headstone. Karen knelt beside them. Your mommy was the bravest person I ever knew. She fought to bring you into this world when everyone said it was impossible. She protected you when everyone said you were too small. She loved you more than anything. Why did she have to go away? Emma asked. Because her heart was tired, sweetheart. But before she left, she made sure you would always be safe, always be loved, always know that you mattered more to her than anything in the whole world. I wish I could remember her, Jackson said quietly. You will, Karen promised. Through stories, through videos, through the choices she made. Your mother made sure you'd know her. She made sure you'd never forget that you were wanted and loved and worth every sacrifice. They placed flowers on the grave. 3 small bouquets, one from each child. As they walked back to the car, Sophie looked up at Karen. Grandma, was Mommy a superhero? Karen smiled through tears. Yes, sweetheart, she was. The best kind. The kind that saves the people she loves, no matter what it costs. And in that moment, watching three healthy, happy, protected children who owed their lives to their mother's sacrifice, Karen knew Sarah had won. Not through revenge, not through bitterness, but through love. Through planning, through using her last breaths to build a fortress that would protect them long after she was gone. Sarah Mitchell had died at 35, but her love, her sacrifice, her legacy would live forever in the three children she'd fought to bring into the world. That was the last gift. Not money, not trust funds, not even the videos, though those were precious. The last gift was proof that a mother's love could transcend death itself. That protection could be built into legal documents. That sacrifice could echo through decades. Sarah Mitchell taught her children the most important lesson before they were even old enough to understand it, that they were worth fighting for, worth dying for, worth every second of every struggle. And because of that knowledge, built into their very foundation, they would grow up strong, protected, loved. They would grow up knowing that once upon a time, a dying woman had chosen them over her own life. And that choice had changed everything.